you know, question, you know, well, maybe he should question his mentor. Why aren't we keeping the 10 Commandments? You know, and so anyway, so these doctrines that are from Catholicism, from Christianity, all walks of Christianity, these doctrines, we need to know where they came from, because if they came from like the first, second, third century, the 1700s, like some of the doctrines that we have, eternal security is a Christian doctrine that came in the 1700s. And so there's a lot of things that people don't know the origins of, and it's very important to find out. It would be important for everybody to find out, but nobody's looking. And so...
Well, you can't say nobody, but
well,
the majority of people are not searching out where the roots of what they had believed in.
Yeah. So we will. I think as time progresses, we'll. Jackson, I think, is comfortable with us having his 333 club for a while. It's still his. It's not ours. You know.
I love it.
What's that?
I love it, and I enjoy the teachings very much when I edit them.
Okay, cool.
When you edit them?
Oh, yes. I have to edit them, you know. I've got mainly to get them down to 50 minutes.
Oh,
so I just get the spaces out of there and get the noise out, and usually they come down to about 50 so I can get them on the radio show.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Don't you know you're celebrities now?
Right, yeah. Well, I was reading in Ben Sira, and this morning, this is in the Septuagint, so it's hard for me to read it. This is all like King James stuff, and I never have used the King James. And so it's very difficult. And it says that when you're at like the head of a banquet, you know, it says, don't come and sit down like you're the head of the banquet. Sit down like you're one of the people.
The royal guest.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's a hard thing for me to go from, you know, talking with people on an individual basis to having an audience like this. And I have prayed and asked Yah to keep me from getting prideful and, well, you know, and so anyway, and that would be a thing I would ask that you guys pray for us as well, that we have peace in the house and that we do continue in a humble attitude, a humble walk of the walk. In other words, the exact same things that I'm sharing with you, that you would also, that I would also learn from them as well. It's not just me talking to you and telling you this, but these are things Yah is trying to put inside of me. So one of the things, so let's see, is there anything that anybody else wants to share? Let's see here.
He's reading one of the chats. I don't know who it came from because I can't see.
It's from Ellison.
You know, what she's talking about here it's an interesting thing, because this almost sounds like there's another guy, Jerry Morris, that has a YouTube channel, and I guess this is a study on covenants. I'll just read to you. I've been working through YouTube video at Jerry Morris's website called Covenants in the Book of the Law. He breaks down Mosaic and Moab covenants. It's not easy to follow, but he talks about Israel's making of the golden calf and being the reason for the additional laws and sacrifices. It's interesting, but hard to follow. I would suggest that this is watch out for Jackson finished. I wasn't able to get on it last night, but he was talking about Melchizedek last week and then last night, and this thing with Matthew Nolan and Dave Perry, and this sounds like the exact same thing that they are talking on in their, and it may not be, but that's what it sounds like, leading towards that. and I haven't watched it, so I don't know for sure, but I just caution you on that. When they start breaking up the Torah, one of the things that Torah is, people look at it as just the law, but Torah is actually the instructions for life. And in Deuteronomy, before Moshe is telling all of Israel, this is second generation in the wilderness, prior to them going into the crossing into the promised land with Joshua, that he's giving them the instructions for life. And he says, and if you do them, you choose life. And if you don't do them, so all of the laws are if you do, if you don't. And so they all have choices. We all have choices today. And so if you do, you choose life. If you don't, then Yah will discipline you. And the rest of the world, I was reading once again in Ben Sira, that he isn't disciplining the rest of the world. There are spiritual laws that happen because it's like you reap what you sow. In Eastern religion, it would be karma, instant karma. Okay, so, but you reap what you sow. And so in people's lives that Yah knows are his, and he's trying to get their attention, then the whole world, actually, there's going to be spiritual laws that are you reap what you sow. So if you shoot somebody, there's a penalty for that. If you steal, there's a penalty for it. But to the children of Israel and those that want to be part of it, there is discipline. When he wants to teach us, he's going to teach us, and he's going to show us in his way. And so, one of the things here I want to read. This is a verse that I shared before. There are things that we're going to be talking about on these programs that it is very important that if some of it doesn't come to you, that you say something, or that you put it on the shelf, and then perhaps in a month or two or something, Yah will open it up to you. But anyway, the verse is Proverbs 18:13. I've shared this before. He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him. And there's a word, that particular verse is saying that when you hear something, you need to investigate it and see if before you answer it, before you make a comment. I used to in my Christian days, in that I studied the Bible quite a bit back then, and I believed in the doctrines that I don't believe in today. But when I believed in them and people asked me certain things, I was very staunch about that. Today, the things that I believe today, I can answer you and share with you. But I also believe that that all of these things, that they are, all the things that we're going through are for the 12 tribes and for any that want to come into it, or for the 13 tribes, counting Levi, or for people, outsiders that want to come into it. And I shared that before, but it's really important to understand that what it says in Deuteronomy 4 is that all of this is not for the whole world. This is for those that want to be a part of Israel. These are for all of this in Scripture, the Torah, the instructions for life, are for those that want to come and walk the way of Yahuwah. If, like these guys this morning, these two Jehovah's Witnesses, they wouldn't want to be a part of that until they start questioning their own religion. And then it's between them and Yah. And that's what I feel, with this. So one of the words that I want to go over is, just shortly, is legalistic. We've been called legalistic. And I believe, let me tell you what this definition is. It's actually legalism. As a noun, strict adherence, or the principle of strict adherence to law or prescription, especially to the letter rather than the spirit. So this is coming actually from a Christian background. And so anyway, when I think that I want to say, what I want to say is that being legalistic would be if you ask me a question, and rather than me directing you to go to the Father and you find out, like for instance, I'm working on the Sabbath and I don't have I don't have an option. They won't let me take the Sabbath off. What should I do? Should I quit? And this happened once before in a meeting. And in fact, it was Robert that asked me years and years ago, probably about 5-6 years ago. And what I answered him is that you need to go to the Father because he can give you the Sabbath off. And so if he was to do what I suggested, it would become, he would be following what I believe to be the Sabbath rather than what he believes to be the Sabbath. So it's really important that each of us find out all this stuff that we're going to be talking about today, yesterday, tomorrow. We need to investigate it and ask the Father for his stamp of approval or for his teaching, because he's going to teach us. So, okay. And one of the things that you'll notice in these studies is that I'll use a lot of the same scriptures, even though we're studying or we're going over something different. And because there are a lot of things in scripture that just come together, they tie together really well. And so I'm not trying to make doctrines out of this or start a church or anything by any of this. So I want to tell you a story here. This is a true story that just happened to us. And anyway, several weeks ago, some of you know about this. We had a hard drive failure on our desktop. And I lost most of the email addresses because on the laptop, I didn't have everybody's email addresses, still don't. And most of the pictures that we've taken since the 90s were on there, and all of this, all the calendar studies, the studies, books and books and books. And so what happened is the machine says that Windows is trying to do a repair on your computer, and it says it may take several restarts. And so it kept doing this, an hour later, 2 hours later, still doing it, nothing. So anyway, I take it to get it fixed. And so in the meantime, a little over a week ago, this computer that we're using, this laptop here, I get the same screen. And it's like, oh, what is going on? And so I thought that we now have 2 machines that are dead, everything. There are some things on here that weren't on the other ones, and back and forth and that. And so, like, what is happening here? Father, what is going on? And so one thing I do have to say is that I didn't get into, blankety blank, any of that. It was just like, oh man, I didn't even know, I started feeling, just like closed in and that. And so I sent out an email to a couple of friends and asked them if they would pray for us, because now we have both computers on the blink. And so anyway, one of them called me and she said, so what do you think the Father is trying to teach you? And I said, well, I'm not really sure yet. I've been kind of asking, but I'm not sure. And she says, well, if you find out, then let me know. That way I can learn from you. And so I thought that was kind of funny. Well, shortly after that, Pat comes in and she puts her hand on my shoulder, and she says,
I don't remember what
"You
I
don't
said.
remember?" She says,
No.
"Carl, I've been praying, and do you think maybe the Father is saying you need to start all over?" And it's like, oh, start all over. Oh man, And so, anyway, the starting all over thing, everything's going through my head. I'm thinking starting all over. I got to take a sabbatical for 3, 4, 6 months so I can put years of stuff, trying to retrieve everything in that. And so anyway, so I did a text to this guy that's working on the computer, and I asked him, hey, should I just do a restart on the laptop? And he said, yeah, and it came up. And it was like, whoa. So the lesson or the test from these computers, Yah was saying, is who is your trust? And all the time, I've been praying, Father, you can do this. You can heal our computers. You can, let me lay my hand on it. No, but that's what it was, is he was saying, who is your trust? So in the meantime, we retrieved most of the information, all of the data files and stuff. We still lost all the email addresses. John Lennon, instant karma is going to get you. Okay. All right. So this is, so where, I want to ask you a question, all of you. Where are you, inside or outside of the Father's house? And we're going to kind of go through some things to kind of explain that. And so this past week I was going over, this was a really busy week for me. I don't normally work the whole week, and this week I ended up doing that. And so to get to the other side of Denver, I'm on the north side, and most of the work is on the south side, and traffic is pretty heavy here. And so I'm thinking about, a bunch of different things, and I'm thinking about the Pesach. And there are a lot of things that go through my head about the Pesach. And so I want to read to you a little bit from Exodus. We're going to start in Exodus 12. And I'm going to read some of the verses and skip some of them, because there are some that are pertinent to what we want to cover here. So Exodus 12, verse 6, we'll start in there. And it says, and you shall keep it until the 14th day. This is the lamb that you bring into your house on the 10th of the month. You are to keep it until the 14th day of the same month. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it between the evenings.
Oh, 6. 12.
Oh, hey, Robert, you need to mute.
Oh, sorry.
That's in verse 7. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. And they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Do not eat it raw nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its inward parts. And do not leave of it until morning, and what remains of it until morning you are to burn with fire. And this is how you eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Passover of Yahuwah. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim on that night, and shall smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast. On all the mighty ones of Mitzrayim I shall execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I shall pass over you, and let the plague not come on you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall observe it as a festival to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Observe it as a festival, an everlasting law. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. And you, none of you, shall go out of the door of his house until morning. We're going to come back to that. And Yahuwah shall pass on to smite the Mitzrites, and shall see the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts. And Yahuwah shall pass over the door, and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. And you shall guard this word as a law for you and your sons forever. And it shall be when you come into the land which Yahuwah gives you, as he promised, that you shall guard this service. And it shall be when your children say to you, what does this service mean to you? Then you shall say, it is the Passover slaughtering of Yahuwah, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrites and delivered our households. And the people bowed their heads and did obeisance. Obeisance, yeah. And so like I said, we're gonna come back, and none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning. We're gonna come back to that. We're gonna divert here to another study, and it's called tzitzits. Why do we wear them? So I want to say that tzitzits are neither Jewish nor Christian. These were way before these 2 religions got started. So just FYI on that. Psalm 119, 1 through 8, it said, blessed are the perfect in the way, who walk in the Torah of Yahuwah. Blessed are those who observe his witnesses, who seek him with all their heart. Yea, they shall do no unrighteousness. They shall walk in his ways. You have commanded us to guard your orders diligently. Oh, that my ways were established to guard your laws. Then I would not be ashamed when I look into all your commands. I thank you with uprightness of heart when I learn the right rulings of your righteousness. I guard your laws. Oh, do not leave me entirely. In Psalm 119, verse 160, it says, the sum of your word is truth, and all your righteous right rulings are forever. And then starting in verse 169, Psalm 119 again, my cry comes before you, O Yahuwah. Make me understand according to your word. Let my prayer come before you. Deliver me according to your word. My lips pour forth praise, for you teach me your laws. My tongue sings of your word, for all your commands are righteous. Your hand is a help to me, for I have chosen your orders. I have longed for your deliverance, O Yahuwah, and your Torah is my delight. My being lives, and it praises you, and your right rulings help me. I have strayed like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I have not forgotten your commands. Why do we wear tzitzits? Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. When there rises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yahuwah, your Elohim, is trying you to know whether you love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your being. Walk after Yahuwah, your Elohim, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him. And none of that which is put, this jumps over to verse 17 in chapter 13, and none of that which is put under the ban is to cling to your hand, so that Yahuwah turns from the fierceness of his displeasure, and shall show you compassion, love you, and increase you, as he swore to your fathers, when you obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, to guard all his commands, which I command you today. to do what is right in the eyes of your Elohim, of Yahuwah, your Elohim. Why do we wear tzitzits? Numbers 15:15 and 16. One law is for you of the assembly of the stranger who sojourns with you, a law forever throughout your generations. As you are, so is the stranger before Yahuwah. One Torah and one right ruling is for you and for the stranger who sojourns with you. Why do we wear tzitzits? Numbers 15, starting in verse 37 through 41. It says, And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, Make tzitziot on the corners of your garments throughout their generations, and to put a blue cord in the tzitzit of the corners. And it shall be to you for a tzitzit, and you shall see it, and shall remember all the commands of Yahuwah, and shall do them, and not search after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you went whoring, so that you remember and shall do all my commands, and be set apart unto your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, to be your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Very important. This is in verse 39. And you shall see it, and shall remember all the commands of Yahuwah, and shall do them. Keep the 10 Commandments as an example. These guys didn't want to do that this morning. They don't choose not to. Why do we wear tzitzits? Deuteronomy 4, verse 12 through 20. It says, And Yahuwah spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard a voice of words, but saw no form. You only heard a voice. And he made known to you his covenant, which he commanded you to do, the 10 words, and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. And Yahuwah commanded me at that time to teach you laws and right rulings, for you to do them in the land which you pass over to possess. Therefore, diligently guard yourselves, for you saw no form when Yahuwah spoke to you at Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest you should do corruptly and shall make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, or the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the heavens, the likeness of any creature that creeps on the ground, or the likeness of any fish that is in the water under the earth. Unless you lift up your eyes to the heavens, and shall see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the hosts of the heavens, and you shall be drawn away into bowing down to them and serving them, which Yahuwah, your Elohim, has allotted to all the peoples under all the heaven. But Yahuwah has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Mitzrayim, to be his people, an inheritance, as it is today. This is where I tell you that everything is for the whole world to do, but not his people. His people and those that want to be a part of it, of his people, are this is his way. This isn't something that I'm making up. This is his way. So if you want to be in his way, in his house, then he's saying, don't do these things. He's saying, keep my commandments, obey me. Deuteronomy 6:6. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah, your Elohim, brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Jacob, to give you great and good cities which you did not build, and houses filled with all kinds of goods which you did not fill, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, and you shall eat and be satisfied. Be on your guard, lest you forget Yahuwah, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. Why do we wear tzitzits? Jeremiah 15, verses 18 through 21. It says, "Why is my pain without end and my wound incurable, which refuses to be healed? Are you to me like a failing stream, as waters not steadfast? Therefore, thus said Yahuwah, if you turn back, then I shall bring you back. Before me you shall stand. And if you take out the precious from the worthless, you shall become as my mouth. Let them return to you, but do not return to them. I shall make you to this people a strong bronze wall, and they shall fight against you, but not overcome you. For I am with you to save you and deliver you, declares Yahuwah. And I shall deliver you from the hand of evildoers, and I shall ransom you from the grip of the ruthless." Why do I wear tzitzits? Numbers 15, verse 39 and 40. "And it shall be to you a tzitzit, and you shall see it, and shall remember all the commands of Yahuwah, and shall do them, and not search after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you went whoring, so that you remember and shall do all my commands, and be set apart unto your Elohim." I mean, that, be set apart to your Elohim. This is Abraham. He is the friend, called the friend of Yahuwah. You know, man. And there's a couple of other things I want to tell you. The tzitzits are not something magical. They're not charms. They're nothing. They're not to become as idols as with Gideon in Judges 8:27, and that says, and Gideon he took the gold pieces from the camels' necks and from the sovereigns of Midian, and it says in verse 27, "And Gideon made it into a shoulder garment and set it up in his city, Ophrah. And all Israel went whoring after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and to his house." These are not to be like that. It's not to be the same thing. These are to be a reminder. Let's see here. So once again, the same question. Where are you? Are you inside or outside the Father's house? And when I was going over the Pesach in my head this week, I was thinking about the tzitzits and the command in the wilderness. And I was thinking, this is a thought. I'm not saying this is how it is, but is it possible that the tzitzits are an extension of the Father's house? In other words, when he tells you to wear them, they're to be a reminder to you to keep his commands, to obey him. And so in Mitzrayim at the Pesach, they were told, do not leave your house until the morning time. You stay in the house. Otherwise, he can't protect you. So this is like being in the Father's house. And when you were in Deuteronomy, when Moshe is telling the children of Israel before they go into the wilderness, and he's telling them, all these things that I'm telling you today, if you choose to do them, you choose life. And if you choose not to do them, then you choose the opposite of it. And so these are the reminders. Choose life. Choose life. And, don't be breaking up the Torah, making it out to, well, this is for, what they're doing is, in the past, this is another thing from the 1700s, these dispensations, dispensationalism and covenantalism, something like that. So a lot of people believe that certain covenants are for certain times. Like the Jehovah's Witnesses this morning told me, well, after Jesus died, he gave us a new covenant. And I said, so you're telling me that he went against his Father by bringing in something new, that he trumped the Father's commands? And he says, we need to go. and he turned around to leave. They both turned around to leave. So breaking up the Torah is saying that you're making this for them, this for them, this for them, instead of all of this for us. So, I mean, it depends on where you're at. If you're walking in Christianity or walking in Judaism and that, then you have to make the decision where you're at with all of that. If you're in a Hebrew roots or Messianicism, those are choices you have to make if you want to go forward. So let's go on here. Okay, so one of the things, another thing that is really interesting to me is that I'm seeing this more and more, that Yah is hiding. He has hidden a lot of things. Now, as we read all of this, and we're reading about people walking in righteousness, Abraham, Yitzchak, Jacob, Samuel, David, all these different people that are walking in righteousness, and Yah's calling,
even Hannah.
Hannah, all of these people, he's calling them, he's saying it's reckoned to them as righteousness because of their obedience and walking in the way of Yahuwah. And so what I see is that, like, these Jehovah Witnesses come to me, and I know that in the past that Pat and I have been in a lot of different churches because we didn't agree with this pastor, so we go to another one, to another one, to another one. So now I'm seeing that Yah has hidden his son, he's hidden his word, he's hidden his name. There's a conspiracy to hide his name, it tells us in Jeremiah. And so all these things are hidden. And so I wonder, would he reveal these to people that are not walking in his way, that are not keeping his commands? Would he reveal them to the people that are walking away from him, that are not walking in his way, what he has set down, what he has given, and, to seek him, to seek his righteousness. And so here we have, what has he hidden? Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret matters. The secret belong to Yahuwah, our Elohim. But what is revealed belongs to us and to our children forever, to do all the words of this Torah. So, one of the things that in movies, one of the things we don't watch too many movies, but usually the content of them make them so that we don't want to. But one of the types of movies that I like to watch are movies that have treasure hunts. And so, like Nicolas Cage, I don't even remember that movie. I think it was from the late 90s or early 2000s. Where he had to find clues to find the next clue, and then put them all together to find out where this was at. Well, it's really funny. It's like he finds a clue, then the people that are against him find a clue, and then they're going back and forth, and then he finds another clue, and then he finds the hidden treasure, then that's stolen from him, he gets it back, and it goes back and forth and stuff. It's those are the things that I kind of like. Habakkuk, chapter 1, verses 2 through 5. And it says, O Yahuwah, till when shall I cry and you not hear? I cry to you violence, and you do not save. Why do you show me wickedness and cause me to see perversity? For ruin and violence are before me, and there is strife and contention arises. Therefore the Torah ceases, and right ruling never goes forth. For the wrong hem in the righteous, so that right ruling comes out twisted. Look among the nations and see, and be amazed, for a work is being wrought in your days, which you would not believe if it were told. Wow. So is he speaking in Habakkuk's day, or is he speaking in our days? Well, if you go into Habakkuk chapter 2, he tells you that this is for the time of for the end times or the last days. And so anyway, why would he have to hide a work in our day? Why would we not believe him if he told us? You know, those are questions that came to me is why? Why would he have to hide all this? Why would he have to? Why would we not believe him if he did tell us? So the thing is concerning, you know, all these past teachers and stuff that we, Pat and I, have been under, you know, if everyone already knows what's in these pages, what's in the scriptures, why would we need to dig, to study, to search? And Psalm 119, verse 102, I have not turned aside from your right rulings, for you yourself have taught me. So now I believe that Yahuwah is taking the time, because as in Jeremiah, when Jeremiah says that Yahuwah says, I rose up early in the morning to teach you, and you were not there. And so we are there now, and we are opening up our home, our hearts for the Father each day to come in and to teach us. Genesis 18, verses 1 through 19. It says, and Yahuwah appeared to him, this is to Abraham, appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the ground and said, Yahuwah, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread and refresh your hearts, and then go on. For this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make ready 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to the young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Now keep in mind, they didn't have microwaves in those days, so these guys had to make a fire and cook it. And they said to him, where is Sarah your wife? And he says, see, in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life. And see, Sarah your wife is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the way of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being old too? And Yahuwah said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too hard for Yahuwah? At the appointed time, I am going to return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. Okay, now here is an occasion where Yahuwah made known to them the work that was being done in their day, and Sarah didn't believe him. Okay, this is just an example. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them away. And Yahuwah said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? And his household, he says, since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him, to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. So the question is, are you walking with Yahuwah, talking with Yahuwah? Are you inside or outside of Yahuwah's house? See, here we see Abraham. The reason why Yah was revealing to him is because of all these things that we read in verse 19. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him, to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. So, very important. We need to learn the way of Yahuwah. We need to learn his ways. We need to also walk in them and not turn. We are not to go back the way that we came. And Israel was reprimanded because they went back to Mitzrayim. Part of them did, part of Israel. And so they were reprimanded. So this is it. This is why I wear tzitzits. This is why we should consider, we all should. And we should, whether the tzitzits are an extension of the Father's house, they are there to command us, to remind us of the commandments and the way of Yahuwah. So that's what this is. This is the end. Any comments?
Anybody want to add to it?
Any additions? Jackson. So I hope all of this helps you guys. I hope these are the things, on a weekly basis, going through them and just different thoughts in my head. So I'm hoping that they help you in your walk as well.
So Jackson must have stepped away.
Yeah. Jackson.
Well, open it up for discussion.
Yeah.
Anybody want to add to anything? Have any comments? Have any thoughts? Come on, you guys. You're not shy.
Can you guys see the comments? Can you read them?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Carl. Never have looked at Zitza.
Do we wear 2 or do you wear 4?
Can we redefine the elect again? If you are not of the elect, then who are you?
Okay, so Allison said, can you redefine the elect again if you are not of the elect? Okay, so I guess the best thing that I can say is that in Deuteronomy 4, where we had read, that was in chapter 4 of Deuteronomy, verses 12 through 20, where God tells you not to do any of these things. And he says, but Yahuwah has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Mitzrayim, to be his people and inheritance as it is today. So the difference is, or you're either walking, as far as the, in some of the translations, we're called the elect, and the chosen, and the Kadesh. And so the obeying his commands and walking, actually walking in them. Isaiah 28 verses 9 through 13 tells us about its command upon command, upon command, line upon line, line upon line, here a little, there a little, And so then he tells us, he goes into this twice, and in between it, he talks about the rest. This is, I believe, what he's talking about is on the Shabbats. And he's saying, I gave you my rest, give rest to the weary, but you would not hear. Israel lost the land because they did not hear, they did not walk, they did not follow. However, the promise was to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov that he would one day bring that seed back. And I believe that if it hasn't happened in every generation between then and now, I believe that it's happening in our generation today. And most of us are part of the 50s, 60s, 70s, I don't know. But there's young people that are coming into this as well.
What was that?
Oh, somebody's microphone isn't off. And so
It's okay now.
Yeah, we are the elect, those who walk in the house of Yahuwah, who stay in his commands, keep his commands, and set themselves apart. We are his elect.
yeah. So I hope that helps out, Allison.
Carl,
Robert?
Do we wear 2 or 4 seats? Does it matter?
Wow, there's a real echo.
You got an echo there, but I can't hear what you're saying. Hey, you're signed in twice.
2 or 4 seat.
Yeah.
CTO.
I know it talks about on the corners, and I wear 2. I wear 1 on each side, and people ask me why I don't wear 4. And well, the 2 of them are on the 4 corners of the seams of my pants. But I know it says on the 4 corners, but hemmed in and all of that. And so the whole idea behind the zit seats is as a reminder. I've seen people that will wear several zit seats like we wear them on our belt loops. And I've seen them wearing all of them in the same belt loop. And, there's nothing wrong with that, because the whole intent is a reminder to keep the commandments of Yahuwah. And I tell you, it's incredible, when they get in your way, and it's like, man, like using the weed blower in that, and all of a sudden they're sucked up into the bottom of it. Got to turn it off, take the time to pull it, unravel it on the inside.
Or a goat eats it.
Oh, we were at Sixto and Laurie's, and we were walking out, and Sixto was getting some food for the goats. So I'm walking out there, and all of a sudden I realized that there are these twin goats, and one is on each side of me, and they both have my zit seats in their mouth. And so it was, kind of a cute thing. I had to put them in my pocket. Just tuck them into my pocket so they wouldn't eat them. But I would say the most important part of the zit seat, instead of the numbers, is that the instructions are to put a blue thread in them and to wear them. And I believe one of the things, I don't remember, did I talk about the Joshua had said one time, I don't think I talked about this. We had been given, several women asked, are women supposed to wear them? And so we had told them that we believed that when it said all the children of Israel is what it says. And Joshua had commented that he had chatted that the children is in the male tense in the Hebrew. I got something for you. I didn't even think about it, but in Spanish, I remember my uncle telling me, he says that if you walk into a room and there is one uncle and you have 10, 20, 30 aunts in there, you address them as, like, how are you doing, tios, which is the male, for all of them. And today we would walk in a room and we would say, how are you? Hey guys, how are you doing? You know, it's a male, like they say, it's a man's world or whatever, but the languages are not necessarily, I believe they're not necessarily saying a man, unless it directly addresses a man is to do this. Like for instance, a man is not to, depending on what version you read, a man is not to shave his beard, priest is not to shave his head. You know, that's specific to a man. And I don't think a woman really wants to shave her head if she's walking in this walk. A funny comment in there is from Kay. She said, Jimmy said that that was goats on each side of a sheep. How funny.
Oh, you were the sheep.
And then somebody else, what's the other one? Let's see, the type of clothing we wear today is very different from the ancients. They wore a sort of poncho and the four corners, tzitzit on all four corners, perhaps. And so, like I say, today, I believe that the most important thing is, first of all, to obey the instruction of wearing them with the blue thread. And you'll see if you ever are in a Jewish neighborhood or Jewish school, that everybody wears the tzitzits that are white only. There's no blue thread in it. And and the reason for that, their explanation is that the snail that they used to get the blue dye from is an endangered species or something. Well, maybe in Talmud it tells you that, but not in Torah. And then it says, the first time I wore tzitzits, I carried around with me scripture verses on a card in case anybody asked me about them. No one ever asked. Pat and I were coming back from Sukkot or unleavened bread in Montana. We're driving through Montana. I get stopped by a state trooper, and he takes me back to his car. And so he tells me to sit in the front with him, and he's typing and telling me stuff and that. And then he goes, so what are those things hanging from your belt? And these are tzitzits. In the scriptures in Numbers 15, it tells you that we're to wear them. And so about 5 minutes, within about 2 minutes, he says, I need you to go back to your car. I need to take off. I have an emergency. So he didn't give me a ticket. But anyway, that was kind of interesting to be asked by a state trooper.
I had a hairdresser ask me once, but she didn't quite ask me. What she said was, man, that's a fancy set of roach clips you got there.
Yeah.
She actually said that. She said, what are those things? I said, they're not roach clips. I said, do you know your Bible? She said, oh, not really. I said, okay. I walked away.
Yeah. That is funny. One of our customers, I've been asked, I think, by 3 different customers what they were. One man knew what I was talking about. The other lady, a Christian, I explained to her that her Jesus was wearing them, and the lady with an issue of blood grabbed for them, and she was healed. And then she goes, oh, okay, and turned around and, went her way. So, but, okay, we're all done. If there's no more questions.
Excellent, Carl. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to next week. And y'all, thanks for coming today. We had a real good group.
I'll have to let you know.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.